Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and the NFL draft has finally come to an end. Hopefully your team got the players that you were hoping for, whether those were sexy picks or picks that were just getting you built to win this season, and of course the future ahead of you guys. Now, of course, this will be a video all about Dynasty, Redraft, different ways that there are some great winners that I believe really came out of this draft that is going to help you guys out. So we're going to jump right into it. All right, guys, so these are my winners of the NFL draft this upcoming season. So I don't have any particular order of how I picked this and what we're going to talk about, but these are the top 10 players or situations that have occurred that I believe are going to help you in your dynasty leagues. And of course, this can translate to redraft as well when you guys start going into it in probably around July or August when the season gets a little bit closer. But as far as what I'm going to talk about the most will probably impact your dynasty leagues. Most of you guys are probably drafting this weekend or the weekend upcoming. At least about 5 of my leagues are next weekend for drafts. So we've got a busy week going into it. Obviously, I've got a lot of rankings I got to update and get that out for you guys. But I wanted to talk about the winners that I believe came out of this. Now, the first person I'm going to talk about is Malik Willis. Of all the quarterbacks that went, I don't think he was the best. But of all the quarterbacks that went, I think he probably is the biggest winner in this whole thing. Now, we're not going to talk about losers, so we're not talking about Tannehill or anything like that. I'll do another video about that. I'm going to talk about how this is a win. So Malik Willis obviously is still pretty raw. I think this is a good situation. I like Tannehill as a quarterback. I think he can learn a lot from him. But I like the team. I like what Vrabel has done with this team. I like the talent around it. Obviously, losing an A.J. Brown is huge. I do think Treylon Burks is obviously a good thing that they were able to replace him at least with a good receiver. I'm not saying he's going to be an A.J. Brown quite yet, but he is a good receiver, so they didn't necessarily just lose straight talent. You still have a good running back in Derrick Henry. Obviously, we'll see how long he lasts for them in the next few years, hopefully longer than just the next couple years. But I like Malik Willis. This is not where he has to be pressured. Now, of course, there's been a rumor of possibly starting this season and maybe Tannehill being shipped off. Not sure how real that is, but that's a possibility. I don't see it. I think Malik Willis really needs a year, maybe 2 on the bench, just learning and honing in on becoming an even better quarterback, where then taking his athleticism and talents that he has, and I think he'd be actually a really good quarterback for the future. So he's definitely one of my top winners going into this. He definitely fell pretty far. I know a lot of people were kind of concerned. I think a lot of people, I had contests going on. A lot of people thought Malik Willis was going to be the next quarterback after Kenny Pickett, but was not so, but he did get drafted. I like the team that he went to. All right. So I do like him going into this upcoming season and the future. So as far as the dynasty goes, I would definitely say he's a late first, early second, especially if you're in a super flex. I would still take him just because, again, you could put him on your taxi squad and just see how it goes from there. But I do like him a lot. Another team, or I guess you would say players that I think are some wins. I love Jared Goff in this draft, not because he got drafted, but the fact that the weapons of adding a Jameson Williams, who a lot of people believe he's going to be the wide receiver 1 when we all said and done, looking back in this class. Obviously, the ACL situation has kept people a little nervous, but the fact that they were able to trade with a rival in Minnesota to move up to get Jameson Williams, and now you've got Williams on the opposite side of St. Brown. You got Swift, you got Hawkinson. Williams is a win. He definitely is a winner in this, and Jared Goff is definitely a winner in this. I think this out. I have a few dynasty leagues that I have some stock in Goff. I didn't invest much. I maybe traded a 3rd rounder, a 2nd rounder in a super flex just to have a good quarterback on the back end. But I like the stock of Jared Goff going up, and I do like Jameson Williams' pick. I wish he went on to another team, maybe Cowboys. But I knew he wasn't going to obviously fall later in the first or, in the second. But I do like those guys as some winners. Jameson Williams really is going to be the pure, I would say, wide receiver in this class. I personally think Garrett Wilson is right there as well, but I think this is a perfect pick. I understand why Drake London went first as far as the receiver group goes, but I think Jameson Williams probably going to end up being the one. And I love both him and Jared Goff after this pick. Another person I have is a good winner, and I was kind of hesitant. I went back and forth because even for myself, I love Kenneth Walker as a running back. I like his talent. Obviously, there's a lot to be desired when it comes to the pass game, and obviously that might be where we see his downfall, maybe as far as a pure 3-down back. But what I like about this pick that Seattle did getting Kenneth Walker is the fact that they obviously realized there's no Russell Wilson. They've got Drew Lock, right? They got Geno Smith. We don't know about any other quarterback situations, possibly if, maybe Baker or Jimmy G goes there, but which I doubt, obviously being in Seattle. But with that said, I think this is actually what they wanted. They were able to trade up. They got Kenneth Walker. The reason why they did that is I think they want to get back to the basics of when they were winning a Super Bowl is they ran the ball, right? Granted, they had Marshawn Lynch, who obviously was one of the best running backs in that time. Kenneth Walker, I think, will end up being the 1-2 punch with Rashad Penny. And there's a lot of obviously concern with Chris Carson. Obviously, his neck injury, there's a lot of concern that he may not be able to play again, or they might be able to he might be a cap casualty. I understand they did invest in obviously re-signing Rashad Penny, and Rashad Penny looked really good at the end of the season. I was hyping him up as far as before the draft because I didn't see them drafting another running back. But the fact is you get Kenneth Walker, that's a 1-2 punch that I can't look past. And I think Kenneth Walker is actually going to be a really good running back in this draft. And I think he will probably end up being a solid pick. I think, and this is nothing against Breece Hall, I just think situation-wise, I think the team that he went to, I think it's a little bit better right now. Another winner that I have is going to be actually for Green Bay and Kansas City, only because I do believe these receivers that they drafted are not necessarily a winner for Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers per se. Granted, they need the weapons. I think this is a win because you went to a team that has Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. You got Christian Watson, who is a good receiver. I didn't expect him to be a top tier receiver. I think he's more of a wide receiver too. But the fact that now you're on a team with Aaron Rodgers, automatically he's a winner in this draft. Then you got Sky Moore, who I loved. I was hoping he was going to sneak into the Cowboys roster. And there's obviously a lot of mock drafts of that because I think he would have been a great pick. But look, going to Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, opposite of guys like Juju, Marquez Valdez Scantling, I think Sky Moore ends up probably being the wide receiver 2 in this team, and he absolutely is a big winner in this. And I don't think it hinders, again, Patrick Mahomes at all. And the fact is, I don't think they need to be wide receiver 1s. I think both Christian Watson and Sky Moore can be good wide receiver 2s and do really well in both offenses just because of your quarterbacks. So I do like those guys as winners. I wouldn't say, again, about the quarterbacks, but I do think Christian Watson and Sky Moore definitely won in this draft. I was just going to say it, the Jets in general obviously are winners in this draft. Just overall, I actually have Zach Wilson as the biggest winner. The fact is, you got Breece Hall in the backfield with Michael Carter, poor Michael Carter, RIP, and you got Garrett Wilson, opposite of Elijah Moore and Corey Davis. There are just weapons galore for Zach Wilson, and this is really to kind of set him up because they really do believe he is the franchise, quarterback going through. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on him, but I think Zach Wilson is the biggest winner, and I do believe the Jets are the biggest winner when it comes to that. If you have stock in Zach Wilson, I'm sure you're excited that you kept him on your roster in your dynasty because the fact is he now has the ability, if he can actually turn his talent and really use the weapons he's got at his disposal, he will be a top 10 fantasy quarterback for years to come. I know that sounds crazy because a lot of people weren't sure about his talent, but the fact is, you've got Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. Obviously, you got Uzoma from tight end that you just signed for the Cincinnati Bengals. Then you've got Breece Hall, Michael Carter. Your offensive line's getting better. The Jets just did a really good job in this draft, and I like what they did. I think Zach Wilson is probably one of the biggest winners going into this one. Another guy I have is a big winner is James Cook. I like James Cook going to Buffalo. Obviously, he's going to be sharing time with Devin Singletary, and obviously the stock shares that everyone was trying to get with Singletary. I thought Singletary was going to be a great option, especially how he finished last season. The fact that Buffalo decided to actually use one running back obviously changes now, but I like James Cook. I think James Cook is definitely one of those sleeper running backs that Again, not at all every down back, but the fact is you've got good speed. He's got one of the better hands as a running back. And I think it actually helps, again, alleviate the pressure off Devin Singletary. You still have Zach Moss there, who really wasn't utilized a lot towards the end of the season, but he's still there. I like James Cook. I think he's going to a great team, great offense, and just the explosiveness. That's what that team is all about, is big plays. The RPOs still with Josh Allen is going to be huge, especially with James Cook playing off of that. Again, being a great third down back and possibly, mixed in with what I would say second downs, maybe some first downs, obviously depending on how they use Singletary. But I like James Cook a lot and I think, I don't know, I wouldn't say he is an early second round pick in your dynasty, but I'm definitely, if you can and you're kind of looking around, you need some running backs, I'm probably going the mid to late second round for James Cook. You may have to go a little bit further or earlier than that, but I like him as a good option. Another winner I have is Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying AJ Brown lost necessarily in this one, but again, I like Jalen Hurts as a winner in this. The fact that you've got an A.J. Brown in the trade. I know this is not obviously a draft, but this draft definitely is part of it. The fact that the Eagles made moves to take back some draft, lose some draft capital, but to gain a good possible perennial Pro Bowl for years to come, and an A.J. Brown helps Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts obviously has some questions as far as a traditional passer. They didn't pass that often. It's kind of like a poor man's Lamar, where they run a lot more than they do passing. But the fact is, Jalen Hurts finished 9th as a QB last year in fantasy, and he can definitely still be within the top 10, if not a little bit higher. And I do think this is going to be the season that you really do see his passing growth occur. I don't think it's just going to be a run heavy team. I think they want to do that to obviously control the clock and just kind of keep the ball moving. But the fact that you added an A.J. Brown, that's for a reason. And of course, opposite of Devonta Smith, who also is a good receiver. And then you got Dallas Goedert, Miles Sanders in the backfield. I mean, this is a good offensive team that, again, you've got to take account for. I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's a big winner in this one. Another quarterback I have as a good winner is going to be Sam Howell going to the Washington Commanders. No pressure of him being the starter right now, but he will be putting pressure on Carson Wentz. Obviously, Carson Wentz being traded there. Another new team for him. Is pressure on him. And the fact is, as soon as Wentz starts to, squander and start to fail and just be very inconsistent, you're going to see some of those fans starting to look at other options, and Sam Howell is one of them. Sam Howell is the poor man's Baker Mayfield, but I think a little bit more talented. I think Baker Mayfield definitely went higher than he should have when he was drafted. I do like Baker Mayfield. I'm probably one of the few people in this world that do. I'm hoping he finds a team at some point, but I like Sam Howell a lot. And again, just because of the fact that there's no pressure, I think he's a winner in that aspect, that he can learn, he can grow. He's got a great coach in Ron Rivera, obviously not a quarterback whisperer, but he does have the ability to get the right coaches to get him in the right position. So I like Sam Howell a lot. Another winner, and this is a big one, is I have Kyler Murray. Obviously, he's still dealing with his financial situation and all that. They did pick up his 5th-year option. So, of course, he is still with the team for the next 2 years. But the fact that the Arizona Cardinals got rid of their first-round pick, which I think is a little high, but they got rid of their first-round pick to get Marquise Brown, who also was his college teammate, that is huge. I think that is a big one. I know a lot of people obviously are unsure with, obviously, Hollywood Brown's inconsistent hands. He was probably one of the most consistent receivers as far as drops. I think he was actually near the top when it came to drops, which obviously did hinder his ability and, of course, his fantasy ability. But he is more built in an offense like the Arizona Cardinals than he is with the traditional run-heavy offense like the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, he did ask for this trade. That kind of broke out recently, that he did ask for this trade. He didn't want to make it a big deal like you see some of these other receivers like a Deebo Samuel, who's just absolutely bashing the team because he wants out. Hollywood did it the right way. I really respect him for that. He made it very clear. He just didn't feel like he was part of this offense the way he felt he could have been. He obviously was the wide receiver 1, but really Mark Andrews is the wide receiver 1. Hollywood Brown was really the wide receiver 2, and that offense is explosive, and I think that's what helps Hollywood Brown a lot. I'll give him that, is that the fact that you got a Lamar Jackson who could possibly run at any point. Your safeties, even your corners, a lot of times they're looking in the backfield. They're peeking to see what Lamar Jackson might do, which helped Marquise Brown and be open and things like that. He does have some work ahead of him. He is obviously opposite of DeAndre Hopkins, so his value might change a little bit there. I like his value in this offense. And another reason why I like Kyler Murray as a good win is the fact that the Arizona Cardinals drafted Trey McBride. They like Ertz, don't get me wrong, but Ertz is also long in the tooth. He does not have the same ability he once did. He did really well last season when he got traded there, but fact is, you get a McBride who is the best tight end absolutely in this draft. That is just an absolute steal, and he is going to be a big weapon for them. And then, again, learning off of a Zach Ertz who was very successful as a Philadelphia Eagle, went to Pro Bowls, won a Super Bowl. I like the move for that, so I do believe that this is a win for the Arizona Cardinals, win for Hollywood Brown, win for McBride, and, of course, win for Kyler Murray. Now, the last person I want to talk about is a big winner in this one, and it's not because, he was the first quarterback, but I like Kenny Pickett's pick. Now, again, I did not have him as the top quarterback into this draft, but what I do like is that he's probably the more polished quarterback. He is a local boy as far as playing for Pittsburgh. He played at Pitt, obviously getting drafted by Pittsburgh. This is probably the best option for the Steelers. I think there was obviously those rumors with Malik Willis just because of the talent, and I think that connection, but if you look at this offense, you had Big Ben for years. You're looking for that more traditional, polished quarterback that Malik Willis isn't quite there yet. You want somebody, I wouldn't say necessarily stuck in the pocket because Kenny Pickett can run, but you want somebody who can be consistent because you've got great weapons. In fact, they even added George Pickens. They added George Pickens to be there with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. You still got a Freiermuth. You've got Najee Harris. You've got good weapons around you. They just need a more consistent quarterback. Obviously, Trubisky's there. He's definitely a loser, and we'll talk about that in the other video, but I like Kenny Pickett. I do think he was drafted a little high, but I understand why they did it because I think they could have gotten him later because obviously you see the quarterbacks drop, and they wouldn't have had to spend a first-round pick on him. But I do like Kenny Pickett. He's definitely a winner for sure. I think it helps, again, give you a quarterback who's going to be consistent and eventually will help. I think he's definitely going to be the quarterback that you're probably going to go after in your dynasty pretty early, probably late first, early second for sure, especially in a super flex. You might even get him in the mid. You definitely should not be the 101. Please don't spend a 101 on Kenny Pickett, but I do like him as a good winner. So those are my winners that I have out of this 2022 draft. And there's obviously a lot more, don't get me wrong, but I just wanted to kind of give you my top 10 that I think will help you in your dynasty, will definitely help you in redraft when we talk more about that this summer and getting you guys prepared and ready for that. So just make sure you guys are prepared. We will be dropping, obviously, the losers. This might be where you have to make some trades. Maybe, I wouldn't say obviously cut anybody, but this will be where you might have to start thinking about your roster when it comes to the dynasty side of things. And of course, when redraft comes, you may be holding off on drafting those players a little bit earlier. So of course, we'll be dropping that losers after this draft. But again, if you guys have not, make sure you check out our other ranking videos. Check out my recap video as far as the first round and what I believe is going to be some good picks for you guys, especially in Dynasty. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell is on. That way you guys are notified every time we drop a video just like this. Of course, if you enjoyed the content, make sure you hit the like button. And as always, hit us up in the comments or, of course, our socials. You're more than welcome to always follow us there and hit us up there as well if you have questions. All right, make sure you check out the videos, and I'll check you guys next time.